What is the good word, everybody? It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. We are quickly approaching a milestone for our diehards. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is my dear friend and co-host, Bo Brack. And each day of the offseason, it feels like we get a little bit more clarity, an additional piece to the puzzle, if you will. And, of course, our precious Redbirds have the 4th overall pick in the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft. The team picking ahead of them, the New England Patriots, did they show their hand today, Bo Brack, with the introductory of new head coach Jerod Mayo?
They didn't. They didn't show their hand because I don't even think they know what's up their sleeve yet. I don't even think they know what kind of cards they're holding, and as far as where they want to put their chips. As far as in the middle of the table, do they want to slow play this thing? Do they want to bluff? But they got Jerod Mayo. They seem a whole lot of conviction in the internal hire. They didn't even talk to anybody else, but that I told you off air is kind of crazy. But Bob Kraft is. He's completely bought in more so in what they've been doing the last 3 decades there. And you should, the proof is there, but no Tom Brady any longer, no Bill Belichick, and a belief in Jerod Mayo that he's going to be going to usher in the new wave and a new era for the New England Patriots. But, they haven't figured out, are they going to hire what some people would consider a traditional general manager? Who's going to be pulling the strings, who's going to be making the roster decisions, and how they're going to spend their cap space, how they're going to spend their draft capital. So they're an absolute wild card right now because I don't think we have the benefit of knowing which direction they really want to go this offseason.
Aris in the chat, is New England going to try and sign Russell Wilson? I think all options are on the table because they have no direction right now. They have a coach, and the coach kind of reports to the owner, and that's it. They are so deprived of talent, especially offensively. They could go 20 different directions. But your point about a GM, so the scouting department is making recommendations to whom right now? Not Bill Belichick, like they've been making to the past 25 years. So even if they wanted to pound their fist on the table, that they wanted a Marvin Harrison Jr. or hopefully a Jaden Daniels, that avenue's not open yet. And so it kind of leaves Cardinal fans out to dry because we know this show can tell you definitively if Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the board at 4, they're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Done deal, right? We feel pretty good about the Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams. I would say 85, 90%, 100% chance Washington goes quarterback. The only uncertainty right now is their grenade at number 3 with New England. But I think roster assessment is going to be uglier than people want to rationalize, especially if they go external. If they bring in a traditional GM, because here's the issue that we're facing right now. Jerod Mayo just coached these players with Bill Belichick. He's been around these guys. So you could overvalue them if you're Jerod Mayo and just say, it's just a change of scenery at the top with a new head coach. I'll elevate these guys. So our biggest concern with Vance Joseph and Quentin Harris and Adrian Wilson staying with the Cardinals last year. They need to hire an external GM because an external GM is going to come in and say, guys, this roster needs everything. What happens when that happens, Bo Brack? A la Monty Ossenford. You trade down. You recoup assets, right? Don't fool yourself, Bo, as you've mentioned, if you're New England and thinking we're a receiver away from contention. You are not. You're about everything away from contention.
But here's the thing: arrogance. Arrogance plays a big role in this.
It does.
And when I watched,
Chester felt a little arrogant today.
It did. I mean, to think that you're going to be able to just move off, and it was there before. When this organization believed, hey, we're going to let the most decorated quarterback in the history of the game exit, and we're going to be fine. Well, turns out you weren't. And you ended up, mutually parting ways with the greatest head coach of all time. And if you think like, are things going to, strengthen after both of those moves? No, they're going to weaken substantially before that. And, I think that they have to, hopefully they recognize it just from, a standpoint. I'm not rooting for the Patriots and I'm not rooting for their fan base. I mean, talk about a fan base that was spoiled for 2 decades, unlike we've ever seen since, the inception of professional football. But, it's a bit naive to think, hey, we're just going to pick up, we're going to get new leadership. They're going to, as Mayo said today, recontract a little bit, rebuild some relationships in that building, take on silos and say all the right things in his introductory press conference. And guys outside of Adam Gase usually win these things. Like if you have any kind of riz to yourself, I think that you can win over a press conference. But, I don't think that they have any true idea of really organizationally which direction they're going to. It's in, Bob Kraft is married to staying inside that building. He did it with the coach, and I've got a pretty good sneaking suspicion that he's going to do it with the people who are going to pull the strings as far as roster management, because he has such belief in the Patriot way. But here's the Patriot way that worked. It's no longer in that building. Tom Brady's gone. Bill Belichick's gone. Patriot way, it's dead. You're going to have to find a new way, and it's going to it usually has to match, kind of keep up with the Joneses as far as the rest of the NFL. You don't have that innovator leading the way, and you don't have that tireless worker competitor to work alongside him and Tom Brady in order to kind of make this thing really, truly work.
Are they going to fall into the trap that the other 31 franchises have fallen into over the past 20 years to try to emulate the Patriot way? And everybody's over. There's a reason everybody's over, because people didn't have number 12, and then subsequently Bill Belichick in tandem, right? Every other franchise, the Vegas Raiders, I mean, everybody was like, we're going to emulate the Patriots. We fool ourselves every offseason. This guy's got Patriot blood. He's from the Patriot DNA. Matt Patricia and Bill O'Brien and Josh McDaniels. It's an old boys club. Guess what? It's failed everywhere outside of where number 12 Tom Brady has been. And that's I would hope Robert Kraft has enough foresight. He's been very successful as the owner of that franchise, expedited their increase in revenue. I think they've doubled in value, maybe tripled since he's bought the team. That's great. I hope he's smart enough to say, like, I like Jerod Mayo, but we can't do this by ourselves. We need a second set of eyes, because Michael Bidwell had his come to Jesus moment last offseason where it was just like, this ain't working. We need to strip this down. I need somebody from not the Cardinal Avenue, Kurt Warner Avenue, to come tell me that this is incorrect. And I'll give him credit. Absolutely did that. Got a big boy general manager who, yes, has Patriot ties, but was in Tennessee. Lots of life experience for Monty Ossenford. And then, of course, the defensive coordinator for the reigning NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. And we've seen the Cardinals have immense kind of turnaround in terms of roster manipulation. We're going to get into that, roster assets. If the Patriots just feel like, you know what, Jerod Mayo, you can make the most of Mac Jones, then it's going to be a disaster. And I pray for Marvin Harrison Jr. if he ends up in this situation, because couldn't you just see that? Couldn't you just see the Patriots saying, you know what, Mac Jones, he made a Pro Bowl once. He made a faux Pro Bowl. He was in the wild card round once upon a time. We'll just get a Marvin Harrison. We'll just fix that. You'll fix that. Won't you, Jerod Mayo? Because people tell you what you want to hear. If Robert Kraft asks Jerod Mayo in the interview process to become a head coach, do you think you can salvage Mac Jones? You know what he says? Of course I can. Yeah, we can definitely make that work. But I'm a little bit concerned, though, because is Jerod Mayo just taking over a sinking ship right now?
Yeah, and it's a fair question. And it's like, are they going he's going to, of course, take that job. It's a dream job. I mean, it's one of the more coveted in all of sports, just because of, what it has behind it, what it means, and where that organization's been before. There's a belief in the ownership there. And a big credit and tip of the cap to Bob Kraft and him kind of putting the people in place to make his organization successful in getting hands off, right? I mean, there's something to be said for that. That's fantastic. And it worked, right? But now it's just like, okay, you're missing the key components here. Like you can't make this cake without the butter and the sugar. Like it's just not going to work. So I think that that's where the arrogance that were the bit where they're naive and how the old way, it's just not going to work any longer. I like that the Patriot way gets in the way, right? So the Arizona Cardinals, that's the one thing that they're going to have to kind of check the pulse on throughout this offseason.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is. And like some people watched that press conference like I did today and said, we know nothing more than we knew before this thing happened. And then some people watched it and jumped to their own conclusions. And they said, it feels like this is going to be an organization that feels like they're not going to draft a quarterback at 3rd overall. I mean, you could look at several different scenarios that make sense, or that they would view that makes sense. Like, would they be in on a Justin Fields? We've heard about you. We talked about Russell Wilson a little bit. Could you go kick the tires on a Ryan Tannehill? Would they get into, Kirk Cousins? They have the cap space to do it. It's just we really don't know until they start to kind of put the pieces in place to make those big, huge decisions that are going to really kind of mold this rebuild. Like Monty Osford a year ago today, when he went up, he stood up, he had his introductory press conference, he was hired, and he said, this is going to be in the tip of the cap, the Cardinals update out there on Twitter and Instagram, putting some of the clips, bringing us down memory lane. But, this is going to be an organization without ego. And, and it was going to be a draft and develop team, and it's setting the groundwork for what was going to be a full teardown. And if the Patriots are smart, that's the direction they'll go. Because look at where the Cardinals are right now.
They're set up
to take on this offseason. Yeah.
But why, though? The coup de grace, why we're not talking about Jaden Daniels, is because of Kyler Murray. The Patriots need their own version of that, right? And I see really good insight in the chat. You guys drop a like on this video. Let's get to 300 today on a football Wednesday. I feel like I've done more research over the past couple of weeks since the season ended on Jaden Daniels than even any of these receivers and tackles, because I'm interested to see what draft insiders and analysts think of Jaden Daniels. I've come to the conclusion right now, quintessential top 10 pick. Like nobody from Mel Kiper Jr., Todd McShay, anybody has a top 10 that doesn't include Jaden Daniels. And in a lot of cases, like our guy, Benjamin Albright, saying he's a lock top 3 pick. If that's the case and you're New England and you're in a division with Josh Allen and you feel like Jaden Daniels can be a special player at quarterback, like people scoff at that because we watched him at Arizona State and he was limited. Like he won the Heisman Trophy. He had 50 touchdowns to like 4 interceptions. Like there's a chance Jaden Daniels can be a really good player in the NFL. It's crazy that we've gotten to this point, but it's true. Tua is not a special talent at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, that's got, that's destruction domino here in the next 18 months. That has a very short shelf life. The Patriots can expedite this thing, help themselves, and add a special player at quarterback, and then subsequently surround him with talent in the subsequent rounds. You can trade down in the second round. You can trade assets on your roster for additional cap flexibility. They've got some nice defenders other teams would want. Maybe the Cardinals would kick the tires on some of their front 7, back 7 players. But if they stick and pick a receiver at 3, that tells me they have no direction. And I love Marvin Harrison Jr. But I saw my guy, Brian, in the chat brings up a point I've seen a lot. I am more afraid of the Patriots trading out of 3 to someone who wants Marv. If the Patriots or somebody else trades up or trades down and somebody comes up for Marvin, like those people don't understand outside of the Cardinals because it's one spot. And I still attest I would trade a 3rd for Marvin Harrison Jr. Those people don't understand the value of what's being prioritized right now in this draft. There are multiple analysts right now that have 3 of the top 6 players in the draft as receivers. Think about that for a second. Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. If you're the Patriots or you're somebody else and you're trying to equip resources, if you're not taking a quarterback, your best bet is to trade out and give it to somebody else and take a Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors or whatever. It feels like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a luxury that only one team can afford. The team picking 4th right now.
Well, I mean, I also agree with Kevin, and I can't can't deny it, saying that this podcast has turned into the quote, please, New England, take Jaden podcast, please, Kevin. For the love of God. It just makes too much damn sense to us because, yeah, we're looking at through it the
we're smart,
the Arizona Cardinals rose-colored sunglasses. We just want it so bad. We're speaking into existence. Yeah, I don't disagree, Kevin. But yeah, it's. I heard another podcast today. Like we had our debate yesterday and broke down, well-respected draft expert analyst Dane Brugler, who had the Arizona Cardinals taking Malik Neighbors 4th overall because Marvin Harrison Jr. went 3rd to the Patriots. And then I was listening to the Ringers podcast today, Benjamin Solak and crew, and they also had Marvin Harrison Jr. going to 3rd overall, and the Cardinals taking Malik Neighbors. And here is the rationale. They don't know what the hell the Patriots are going to do and how they're going to approach rebuilding this thing. They just don't. And then you look around, like I think you look it's probably about 60-40, where I'd say 60% of the mocks have Marvin Harrison Jr. falling to the Cardinals at 4 because people's rationale is Patriots rebuild quarterback. It just seems that that's the next step. You get your coach, you get your new front office, you get your quarterback. That's the next thing. And it's not going to, the smart idea is you don't go with the retread, right? You don't go with the Russell Wilson. You don't go with the Ryan Tannehill. Sure, you can bring those guys maybe as a bridge to this rookie quarterback, but not as your solution for the upcoming season, like the first season of a rebuild and beyond. Yeah.
And I think look back at some of the Patriots seasons of recent years. They've been bad. They've been really bad. What's the common denominator? Bad quarterback play.
Yes.
It's not bad wide receiver play exclusively. They've had Devontae Parker. They've had some guys who they let Jacoby leave.
Myers.
Yeah, he was a good player for them.
But they signed Juju Smith-Schuster to the exact same deal.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, like have they butchered that position? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it pales in comparison to what they've tried out of quarterback. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, it's been terrible. And I think it's the perfect pivot point. And I'm not selling Jerod Mayo. I think he can come up with this conclusion too. Like Bill took the brunt of the heat when Brady left, how he handled the position. That period, you can put a nail in the coffin now. It's dead. So go and restart this franchise that's been on life support with a young quarterback. Because if you tie yourself to Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, guess what's not going to happen? People are going to be enthused by that.
Yeah.
At best case scenario, you're hovering around 500. Probably not with the limitations to this roster. Wouldn't you, if Jerod Mayo, we don't know how many opportunities he's going to get, push for, if they like him, and certainly the tape's exceptional for Jaden Daniels this past year at LSU. That's what I want to tie my legacy to. Not a retread. It's why people like the Justin Fields thing is laughable. You think a head coach with options that is going to go to Atlanta if you're Bill Belichick, or potentially Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers is going to, I know Jim's got Justin Herbert potentially, but a head coach with options is going to say, give me the guy who's failed with 2 other coaches? No, you don't say that. The teams that are signing Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and Ryan Tannehill are grasping for straws on their last leg. Jerod Mayo's playing with house money. So go get your quarterback. Take a receiver elsewhere. I think that would be such a foolish decision. And it's funny, and I'll end on this. It felt like we were like the voice of reason for Bear fans with Caleb Williams, and that's turned on its head. And all of those Marvin Harrison Jr. mocks for the Bears, that's dead. That's over.
Yeah.
That ended, thankfully, the last week of the NFL season.
You want to eulogize that as well? As like the Eagles season?
I love our friends at CHGO too much to do that to them. Yeah. But it feels like the meme where you've got the Grim Reaper going door to door. Now we have to go to the Patriots and we have to educate them on how championship teams are built. And you're not gonna,
guys.
Yeah, that's right. You're not winning anything. I love Marvin. He can't catch passes from himself, especially in inclement weather in Foxborough. So make the right decision, and I think they will. Like if you're asking me today, I know people are concerned about it in the chat. I think I trust how I feel about this situation, how we've assessed it. Benjamin Albright. I think 3 quarterbacks are going 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and to your point about Belichick, I mean, even as bad as he dropped the ball in roster building post Brady, I mean, in that area, people were not quick to criticize him, and that's a very outspoken area, right? I mean, it's up there with Philly, New York, and in the big markets, right? Because he had the ability to say, "Hey, shut up and kiss the rings. I got 6 of them, all right? And like I gave you more joy than you've ever had. We got the duck boats out. You got Gronk crushing beers and spiking them. That happened because of me." Jerod Mayo doesn't have that luxury at all. Like, they will come after his ass if they very well could be one of the worst rosters even after this offseason going into the regular season. It doesn't matter what they do. It's going to be tough to get this thing on the right track in one offseason's time, especially in that division, as you pointed out.
Yeah, Hannibal, have you checked out the new Jerod Mayo interview where he said Patriots will pick best player for a very important position? I haven't seen that. But like, if that's what he's saying, that's what you should say. We're going to be smart with our pick. Like, you could almost make an argument from a team building standpoint, like they need an offensive tackle more than they need a wide receiver. Somebody posed this to me today, and I thought, you know what? I think I like this combination. Jerod Mayo, Jaden Daniels, Joshua Dobbs. Can we get Josh Dobbs in there to pass the baton to Jaden Daniels? I think that'd be great. I think it would be fantastic. Josh Dobbs and Jaden Daniels and Jerod Mayo. Let's do it right now. There's the brain trust.
Now I'm starting to see flaws in the errors of our ways, and that we're just really
great if they sign Josh Dobbs, though, because you know exactly what they'd be doing. If they're in that market, a Jacoby Brissett, Joshua Dobbs market, then you know we're going to get Jaden in here and we're going to take care of business.
Now, this has been very Patriots focused, but, you know, I saw Brad Spielberger and some of his colleagues over there at Pro Football Focus put together a chart as far as the teams that are going to do the most damage. Award-winning producer Damon Dog, fresh off the road from Tucson down there, the introductory press conference for the Wildcats' new head coaching position. But we've got this one, every team's effective cap space in 2024 and draft capital, and the teams that do the most damage here. If you look at the top right corner, it's a lot of money to spend and a lot of draft capital. And you got the Patriots down there as far as the draft capital. It's a little bit lower than the Cardinals, but a little bit more cap space. You got Washington, who's the second overall pick, who's got decent draft capital and a lot of cap space. And then the Cardinals with the best draft capital and some, you know, pretty decent cap space, somewhere around 60, right around 60 to start with the rollover. And then the Bears with the top pick, good draft capital, decent cap space. I mean, those are the teams right there. Those are the teams that are in the top 10 with their own picks, and then also with a bunch of cap space that are going to be doing a lot of work this offseason to improve their roster. And that's who you're going to be shoulder to shoulder with, you know, vying for free agents and some of these top prospects.
Saints are doing well. Looking at that graphic.
Let's see it again.
Yeah, let's check out this graphic again. The Saints are almost to the point where they're not even on the chart. They're so bad. Enjoy that Jimmy Garoppolo contract, that Michael Thomas contract.
They're Pluto on this damn thing.
That's right. I love everything about this. We've got a super chat here from Richard. So the Bears are in the same quadrant as the Cardinals, but we know the Bears are going to take Caleb first overall. The Bears, according to Richard, $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Could trade 9 and other assets for Marvin Harrison Jr. I just feel like, I mean, sure they could, but wouldn't you rather just stick and pick a tackle or Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors and keep your assets? Maybe Ryan Poles is going to feel the pressure, and he wants to pull off the big splash like Houston did last year, where they got CJ and Will Anderson, and you want to leave the draft. But coming up from 9 to 3 for a non-quarterback, we saw what it costs. It costs a lot. And the Bears are also, they have issues elsewhere. They're not a receiver away. They have DJ Moore's fantastic. I
mean, there is a precedent, and you mentioned it yesterday, and I think it's on the table. Like, could their diagnosis be, hey, we're Houston. We're Houston this year. We're going to get top quarterback in this class, and we want to identify another need, and we see a player that's ready to roll right out of the gates.
That'd be pretty unbelievable.
It would. And it would take, just a giant sledgehammer right to the chest cavity. And then somebody would go in and rip our heart out and then throw it into the Grand Canyon. It would be awful. The draft, it would be the opposite of immaculate vibes at our draft party. It would be the opposite of that. And it'd be tough to resuscitate.
Well, and you've got 2 teams from their division in the divisional round. And so it would also be, in my opinion, very reactionary to that.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't get to that point, Richard.
Yeah. And I think when you look at, who is geared and ready to go, and when you're recruiting, when you're wooing free agents, and you look at those teams, Washington hit the full reset button. They've got new ownership. Sure, like it's better than Dan Snyder, that guy owning it and them being a rudderless ship.
Yeah.
But still got to prove to people who they are going to be and what they're going to do. They don't have a coach yet. And then you got New England, who just identified their coach. You don't know what's going to happen as far as their GM. And then you got Chicago, they're back. They've doubled down on Flus, on Eberflus. Like he could be a lame duck coach next season, right? Like if you're going to sign, if everything's equal, the money's equal, and you're a free agent, you're like, do I want to play for Eberflus? Do I want to play for, depending on who, Washington gets in there, a head coach? I mean, if it's a Vrabel, if it's a Ben Johnson with a lot of hype behind him, it might give him the edge. And then it's New England and Jerod Mayo, like versus Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort, and kind of the goodwill that they created in 1 year's time. I think the Cardinals are going to have close to, if not the edge.
I think their culture is speaking for itself right now. Now they've got some work to do. They made some moves off the field today or subsequently in recent days, made some changes to their executive team. And, that's not really what this podcast dives into, but they had a third party come in an executive role, and they're making substantial changes. Like, Bo, you witnessed it on the ground level with upgrades to, we feel like, their weight room. They added a nursery daycare portion to their stadium. Like, they are making improvements. They're not slashing everything down like people hope. I'm still trying to figure out, and I reached out to somebody recently, like what's going on with their locker room, upgrading that. Like, is there a timeline? Hopefully that's next. And if I have something to report here in the coming weeks, I'll let everybody know. But the Cardinals are slowly, first of all, they're staying quiet, which is the most important thing. There's no noise off the field like there was last year, the year before. Like, they're going about their business, as Ossenford said last year, egoless. It's about football finally. And I have heard definitively, and that you guys can take this however you want, Michael Bidwill has been incredibly accommodating to Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford. They are letting the football people run the football department, and Michael Bidwill has made significant changes to the way he operates the franchise. Now, that's not going to make everybody happy, and I get that. I'm not asking you to forgive and forget. But if you're asking me, are they in a much better spot on and off the field than they were a year ago, based on what I've heard and people around Michael Bidwill, I would say emphatically yes, they are.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kyle Odehard had the article today, compare.bet. Check it out. Get some insight as far as what went down. They continue to revamp the entire organization from top to bottom. And that was something that Jonathan Gannon said in his introductory press conference a year ago on February 15th, right? That, I mean, they believe and they've proven with their actions that they truly believe this, that, from the people that make the smoothies to the people that clean the floors, and obviously the people that put together the roster and the guys in the locker room and on the field and the coaching staff, like everybody has a role, and it's integral to success of this organization. And they're not going to have anybody that's just going to, move forward that doesn't serve a role and a purpose as far as the success of this organization. And like, this is not players we're talking about or coaches that are exodus. We feel for the people that lost their jobs today or whenever it actually went down. It's unfortunate, but it was what this organization and the decision makers viewed and deemed as necessary to move forward and to get to where they want to go, because they realize, and if you look at the NFLPA report card that's going to come out, the second version right around combine time again, that it's more than just, results on the playing field in the roster and the coaching staff. Like, you have to take care of every facet of every organization, or you can't run from it any longer.
Yeah, it's not just about the on the field product, although the article attributed to they wanted to up their season ticket experience, and this year they either was status quo, they took a step back in terms of attendance, and that's not something that they can have sustained with over the next half decade plus. They want to be able to say, we're consistently growing this fan base. The fan base is taking a hit unequivocally. I mean, you guys are diehards. We're diehards here at the PHNX Cardinals podcast. It's time to expand. We want more people to be a fan of this show, obviously, selfishly, but this team. And to do that, you have to treat people the right way on and off the field, and you have to have results. And just, it's time they leveled up as a franchise. And they're trying to do that in certain ways. And not everything's going to hit. Not everything's going to be, to the best, ability to resonate with fans. But to Bo's point, we're not here to say, hey, it's great that they let people go. We feel for those individuals, for their families, absolutely. And we hope they find success elsewhere. And I hope the Cardinals find success internally.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We've got coming up, a lot of you just hit us up on social media with your mock drafts. We're going to get into your mock drafts, especially after our poor performance yesterday. We had to kind of give the sticks to somebody else. We put down the controller and gave them to you. So we got a couple of your mock drafts coming, as well as a couple a free agent ad from both Johnny and myself on the defensive side of the football. Some good names. I saw Johnny's. I like it. And then I've got mine as well right here on PHNX Cardinals.
First, we're going to tell you about our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 158 instantly. BetMGM, if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? We've got, in my opinion, the best round of the NFL playoffs, the divisional round, right around the corner. And I think there's some easy money to be made. Like, as much as I would love to see the Packers, Buccaneers continue to make noise in advance, I think we have a date with destiny. I think you want to parlay all this now, I think it'd be a wise move. I like the Bills. I like the Ravens. I like, of course, the 49ers, and I like the Lions. That 14 parlay is going to get you a pretty penny, and it's going to be for free if you want to do at least $5 in your BetMGM Sportsbook account on your iOS or Android device, or check them out at BetMGM.com. Once your bet is placed, you're going to receive 158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. So win or lose, if my bet hits, my parlay, 4-teamer, you get that money plus 158. If not, you still get the 158 in bonus bets. But you got to sign up with BetMGM using that bonus code PHNX5 for 158. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy Damon talk about it in the disclaimer. I love it.
Only problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Finally got rid of that Shane Diefenbach guy. I'm finally rid of ourselves.
We've been trying for a long time.
Can you say upgrade?
We just deleted his contact out of our phones as well. We're moving on. It's new year, new us. And we're doing it without our guy, Shane Dief, and with our award-winning producer, Damon Dog, and our friends over at OGs that celebrate 2024 with 2 new products. They're always doing great things over at OG. So innovative. It's Arizona's original cannabis kitchen, favorite cannabis kitchen. Check them out, ogsbrands.com. They've launched 2 new products, the OG's Naturals and also OG's Big OGs. That's right. You got the Naturals and the Big OGs. You got the vegan gummies made with live rosin, available in sweet clementine flavors. So delicious. It's like fresh clementine. It's delicious. Meanwhile, you got the Big OG's gummy. It's a mega version of Peg's Raspberry Orange, the RSO, one of the company's most popular gummies, and it's perforated into 10 slices with 10 milligrams of THC each. That's 100 milligrams of THC in the Big OG's gummy. Can't beat it. Check out their full product line right now online, ogsbrands.com. Don't forget to follow them on your socials. And, of course, check into your local dispensary. You're going to find OG's right here in the Valley of the Sun. Got to be 21 years or older. OG's Brands. Check it out. Flavoring life.
Shout out to Mike Cadlick on Twitter, who's got the bite. I just retweeted it. Jerod Mayo, again, to double down on what the chat has said, was asked about the Patriots having the number 3rd overall pick in the upcoming draft. Again, check it out. We're going to draft the best player for a position that's very important. You put the pieces together. And then subsequently, every response is a little gif of our sweet baby Jaden Daniels, Heisman pose, running for a tutty. And it's just like, welcome, friends. Welcome to reality for the New England Patriots. I would say that's very good news.
Marvin's not getting past the Patriots, bro. Everybody in our comments every time now. But when I watched that press conference, I think it was overwhelmingly a pro Jaden Daniels New England Patriots.
Seriously? In the comments?
In the chat. Yep.
I mean, there was Patriot fans for being smarter than Bear fans that had to take their medicine and have Jordan Love ram it down their throat and subsequently reach the divisional round for you to say, I guess these Caleb highlights, they're pretty good. Did you see Caleb Williams this year? That's what it's happening on Twitter. It's like, oh yeah, I watched his highlights. He looks pretty solid. That's what it's taken. Justin Fields, not his 10-29 record. They had to watch Jordan Love undress them week after week and get to the divisional round for them to click on the Caleb highlights. Now we're good. Patriot fans, good job. Kudos to you.
There you go. It's check out a couple Jaden Daniels highlights. I think you'll be very pleased. You can talk yourself into it. Yeah, our good guy over at CHGO, Adam Hogue, said he's breaking down every single game film from Caleb Williams, and he's like, I think maybe just the first game into it, and he's just blown away. The guy needs he's what he's seen from the USC quarterback. I mean, it's going to be Caleb Williams is going to be able to pick up some of the stuff that he lost, the luster that kind of wore off during a tough USC season this year, where he started as a can't miss generational type guy. And then that kind of wore off. And then you saw some red flags. I think he's probably going to regain some of that traction between now and draft day.
I think you're 100% right. Great point. I think we're going to get a Caleb Williams. Maybe that's not humble, but like so professional, so put together and polished this offseason. He is going to ingratiate himself to the city of Chicago, and he's going to be around people that are just going to be like, hey, Caleb, do you want to make big time money in a big time market? Like, say what you want about the Bears. Huge market in Chicago, top 3 market, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, in the continental United States. You want to be a part of that, Caleb, and you want to do something that nobody has ever done, had sustained success at the quarterback position. And that also, Jaden Daniels doesn't have to follow Tom Brady. Right. Everything is lining up for the Cardinals. Brian in the chat, dear friend of the program, $5. Spent all last year wanting Will Anderson Jr., getting those vibes with Marvin Harrison Jr. Here's the difference, Brian. We sat at first of all, the Cardinals could have drafted Will Anderson Jr. They chose not to. They didn't have him stolen away from them. And we were told 2 months before the draft, and everybody subsequently on this podcast heard when Benjamin Albright came on the show during the combine, he said the Cardinals don't want Will Anderson Jr. I can tell you definitively that's not the case with MHJ. So it feels the same. It's not the same. I promise you.
Yeah. Michael Jordan played in Chicago. I mean, if you're an up and coming athlete and you're staring down the ability to go to the Windy City, I don't think that you should turn your nose up on it. I know that they've struggled finding a quarterback, never 4,000-yard passer in franchise history, but the sports heroes there are beloved. Outside like Sammy Sosa, despite hitting 60 jacks in 3 seasons, they like to forget that he ever existed. But I mean, as far as Michael Jordan and some of the beloved sports athletes, Walter Payton, like if you can take the Bears to where they've only been, really one time since 1985, like he's going to be everywhere, and he's going to be his earning potential is going to be the biggest he can get out of this draft outside of New York and LA.
And guess what? I think he's going to do well. Like I'm not, first of all, I'm not rooting for him to fail. I've never rooted for him to fail.
You think the top prospect in this draft has a chance to succeed?
Just maybe. And this is somebody that when the Bears traded up for Fields, I love that move too. But I think Caleb is set up for success. Like the Bears cupboard's not empty, just like Cardinals cupboard isn't empty. You know who has an empty cupboard? New England. Get it together. We're going to get it together here. Is it a weekly thing now? We're picking free agents because I like this segment. I'm having fun with it, Bo.
Absolutely. We've got, we're going offense. We're going defense, one player each side of the football a couple times a week. But what kind of spurred this one on today, just scrolling Instagram, and Pro Football Focus put up a couple good fits across the league as far as some of the big name free agents. And Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers, they had the Arizona Cardinals attached to Brian Burns, which is a name we've already bandied about a couple times. Here it is. Here's the post. Pro Football Focus. They like Cardinals getting the edge at, 25 years old. He's already been so productive in this league. That would be a massive get for Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. It's very similar to what Hassan Reddick brought to the Cardinals in Jonathan Gannon's second season as DC in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love trading 27 for him straight up. Is he going to hit the market? Are the Carolina or could you finagle something else where it's a different kind of pick swap? I feel like the Panthers have no leverage here. They have no draft resources. They have a little bit of money to spend. They got to spend it on offense. They've tried this with Brian Burns and subsequently Derek Brown. You're not winning games that way. I feel like take your comp pick, take your medicine, and move on. Like, go spend money elsewhere, make trades and big moves to help Bryce Young. But I don't know. If I'm Austin Ford, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'll call their bluff. Like, you're gonna franchise tag him? Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna have $25 million you can't spend this year. So I would, first of all, if he reaches free agency, I will hold it against this franchise till I'm in the 6 feet under in the ground if they do not pursue him heavily. Because he makes all the sense in the world. And I mean, he's somebody the Rams tried to trade for him 2 years ago for like 2 1s. I mean, you talk about just butchering time after time. It's like what the Cardinals did with Patrick Peterson. You got to strike when the iron's hot. Brian Burns has all the leverage here.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think at this point it's one of those relationships that has been rocky for a couple seasons now, not just recently. And like, it's inevitably going to end in divorce. So if you can recoup anything, I mean, I think that the asking price would be maybe a third and some change at the very least, but most likely you could drive it up second, maybe into the first round, which might be worth it at this point for the Arizona Cardinals. Sign him to an extension, and it's a little bit easier than having to absorb all that cap money in year one for Brian Burns and then letting him hit the open market the following season. But I mean, look, you have it reliably sourced. The Arizona Cardinals are going to invest in 2 spots this offseason, and it's going to be that front 7 on the defensive side of the football and then the outside corner spot. So, and I think when we look at our 2 guys that we picked and identified as targets for the Arizona Cardinals, those are guys that we kept that report that you had in mind.
Yeah, and again, real quick with Brian Burns, I think go to Washington and what the Bears subsequently traded for Montez Sweat. I know it's not apples to oranges. This is a high second-round pick. So, if you want to float 35 to them and say, well, we just saw this situation unfold. It's not our fault that you didn't sell off of him 2 years ago and could have gotten more. This is the reality of the situation. So,
yeah,
I think
Washington dropped the ball with Trent Williams a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think some organizations have been smarter than that. Carolina is one of the worst run organizations, if not the worst run organization in the league. But they had Trent Williams where they were going to get a third in a compensatory pick at best, and then they got a 5th. They traded him for a third and a 5th, so they got a 5th on top of that. Really, it's brutal. So you can hopefully they misplay their hand that poorly, but they'll have somebody. Suitors, they'll have a couple people lining up to get Brian Burns.
It's an offensive rich draft. If they were smart, they try to get picks and invest them for their young quarterback, because that's their livelihood right now. Turning our attention again to our defensive target of the week here. Bo, you go ahead and kick us off because you went a different route in terms of the position that I went. Tell us about your player and the rationale behind it.
Yeah, you're so gracious. Always letting me go first. That's so nice of you.
So let's say maybe the most humble.
Brian Burns is a big name, and I think, like we said before, as we started to reveal these last week, we're going to pace ourselves. We're not just going to throw the biggest names that could be available this offseason. We want to save those for down the road. But I think that this guy very well could find his way playing in the defensive secondary for the Arizona Cardinals. Steven Nelson, you saw him make a big play on Saturday against Joe Flacco and those poor Browns. Steven Nelson, the vet, he's 30 years old, had 4 picks during the regular season, 6 pass breakups, and a completion percentage of just 59% against him. He was legit for the Houston Texans. And what does that C stand for on his jersey in this picture here? Well, that stands for captain. He's well respected by his teammates. If Houston lets him get away, and Jonathan Gannon, unprovoked when he was previewing and talking to the press, us media members leading up to the Texans game this week, he mentioned Steven Nelson. I think he's somebody that he has a whole lot of respect for and what he's able to do on and off the field for the Texans organization.
Who did he play for in 2021? Oh, that's interesting. Philadelphia. Under Jonathan Gannon.
That's right.
Where he had a great season and turned into a big contract with Houston. This is exactly what the Cardinals I think are going to do this offseason. Like, do not get scared off by the mileage or the year or the age. They are desperate. I've been told desperate for starting experience at cornerback. Again, we talk about it week after week, day after day. They like the young talent. They're going to add to it. I could see another mid-round corner that they're going to develop. They want to be able to add 1 to 2 minimum starting caliber veteran corners to help them get this group to the next level. I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think that they're going to go 4 years, $80 million for a number one corner in free agency when, number one, Jonathan Gannon trusts himself and his coaching staff to elevate. Number two, they just want guys to be in the right spot. Like, he had Antonio Hamilton playing well at the end of the season. Like, think what he could do with a Stevie Nelson. That's the exact kind of move I think the Cardinals will make. They will sign 1 to 3 guys of that caliber. Couple 2-year deals, maybe a 3-year deal for somebody that's under 30 years old. Maybe they trade for somebody. I still very much feel like I saw somebody in the chat put Marcus Lattimore, or excuse me, Lattimore of the Saints. What's his first name? Marshawn Lattimore, excuse me. Somebody who has a big money contract for a team that, like the Saints, like some of these other teams, is transitioning to a rebuild, is transitioning to offense. They need assets. They need resources. The Cardinals are going to be in that business. I can't tell you what player that is. I don't know what player that is. But I was told definitively, watch out for the trade market for expensive veteran quarterbacks who, by the way, are not washed. They're just too expensive. They're a luxury for the team that they're on. So Lattimore would fall under that category. I think Lattimore or somebody like that, or a Darius Slay, if the Philadelphia Eagles were willing, and then a Stevie Nelson, that's the kind of move I think the Cardinals are going to make.
If the Arizona Cardinals, like you say, get 3 players of that caliber in free agency, and then they supplement it with their draft capital, man, oh man, does it just change the complete complexion of this defense? I mean, you give Nick Rallis, like, you know, Howie Roseman gave Jonathan Gannon an absolute shot in the arm boost from year 1 to year 2.
Yeah.
And like, I think Lattimore, I was going to maybe table this, but you guys 4-star hand, damn it. Like, it's a long off season, but Lattimore, you know, they had a couple of the, I think Mickey Loomis speaking today, and Nick Underhill, who covers the Saints so well over there. He had a quote that he didn't want to give too much insight on why they restructured some of Lattimore's contract, but it's basically the precursor to making him tradable. And what he's going to make next season, very affordable cap-wise. Then after that, it goes up, and then it goes back down. And you've got some wiggle room there with Lattimore. And I think he's around like 27.
He is, yes.
You know, obviously you'd like to see him play more and be more available than he's been the last 2 seasons. But he really reminds me of Darius Slay, who came in, like you said, like to JG's defense and really was kind of the veteran presence that got that defense rolling in the right direction by the end of year 1 and into year 2.
And by the way, what'd they give up for Darius Slay? A 3rd rounder. And I think for Marshawn Lattimore, keep trying to call him Marcus Lattimore, the famed running back that blew out his knee. I think it would be about the same. Cardinals aren't going to give up pick 35 for Lattimore, but like maybe their 2nd, 3rd, the Tennessee 3rd, that's like 71.
Sign me up.
That feels about right. I think we'd all be celebrating. We can get creative on this podcast because I trust the Cardinals are going to get creative with their secondary. So Stevie Nelson, Lattimore, you're suddenly cooking with gas with Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Garrett Williams, Keitrell Clark in year 2, Starlin Thomas. You could still draft a cornerback, a developmental guy. But to me, it's like all that's moot if your front 7 is big time ass again. Like your front 7 needs everything, which is why, like, I feel like it's my job every time we do this to say, hey, enough of the secondary party. It's fun. It's fun to play press man. Who's pushing people around up front on your defensive line? So for the 2nd consecutive week, if you're sensing a theme here, congratulations. I'm going defensive line for the Cardinals because it is mandatory. I went Christian Wilkins last time. How about look in the division for somebody I think a little bit cheaper that you could buy low on, subsequently under 30 years old. Let's see it, Damon Dog. It's Leonard Williams. Once upon a time, a New York Jet, a New York Giant, has an ability to rush the passer, a dominant at times 5 technique. He's 29 years old. Again, if you're yelling and screaming through your computer, through your phone, we need somebody 25, 26, point that person out to me. Are they available? They are not, because they don't become available. Cardinals are going to have to draft and develop their own, but they need somebody now. 5.5 sacks, 76.2 PFF rating, 1 pass defended this year. Was very good for Seattle. Was not a good fit, though. I read articles at the end of the year. I pulled them up today. Like, it got ugly between the two parties. And guess what? Pete Carroll's gone, which means Leonard Williams is gone. So I think Leonard Williams hits the open market. The projection for him is somewhere around 3 years, which I would imagine the first 2 are going to be guaranteed. Sign me up. Like, this is what you need. This is a guy who's been on playoff teams. This is a guy who was drafted high out of USC, immense talent. Now he's missed some time. He only played 10 games this year. But look at the production. Like, we know if you can keep him healthy, and the Cardinals like to run, as you always tell me, 6 to 8 deep on their defensive line, he can come in and make his presence felt. So, again, none of these defensive linemen that I'm posing to you guys week after week are going to be perfect. If they were perfect, they wouldn't be available. But you got to roll the dice on somebody. And I think Leonard Williams would be a heck of a start.
But it's an upgrade over, what the pool of guys you were picking from last year. I mean, we were shining up, LJ Collier, who also just came from Seattle, and he wasn't available this season because of a bicep tear, and Carlos Watkins. And like, Leonard Williams is a guy that's played some significant snaps in the NFL, as talented as they come, and get him under JG and Rollis, and they were a guy Collier playing at the highest level he'd played up until that point before the injury. I'd love to see him get their hands on a guy like Leonard Williams. I love it. It's a great bit. I want it to continue on throughout our offseason series, where you're the iconic, where's the beef lady? Like, where is it? And your butcher box. You're delivering the beef to the Arizona Cardinals because it's absolutely necessary right now. With Lecky Fotu exiting via free agency, I know they can probably easily bring back Jonathan Ledbetter as an exclusive rights free agent, and you like what you saw from Dante Stills, but man, they need to add a ton of bodies to that defensive rotation, and you get a player like Leonard Williams, and then you add somebody in day 2 or day 3 of the draft, let's say Chris Jenkins or Tavondre Sweat, man, that defensive front looks a lot better and different.
What about Marvin at 4? Jordan Morgan at 27, Chris Jenkins at 35. You trade one of your thirds for Marshawn Lattimore. Suddenly, we feel pretty good about this team. Feel pretty good about the prospects with this team.
Yeah, I mean, you got Buddha and Jalen already. You got JT in there, and you've got Kazir White in the middle, and then you start hitting some premium pieces like the corner spot, an edge, and then some beef. My God, you got yourself a defense, and it's a far cry from where you were, and you were crying when some of those teams, those offenses were marching down the field. It was part of the strategy. Their defense was so bad that they shortened the field for the opposing offense against Philly so they could be in a position to win that football game. It's those days. I think that's the last time we'll probably see that strategy deployed by JG and crew. But man, can they really reshape things this offseason?
I think you just got to be optimistic because you saw what Gannon did when respectfully, the bottom of the barrel, you just had no resources, and he's keeping games close with smoke and mirrors and duct tape and popsicle sticks. And it's just like, okay, like, I trust he knows what he's doing. Go get Leonard Williams, go get Christian Wilkins, go do some stuff in free agency and subsequently in the draft and later rounds. Like, I trust this coaching staff exponentially, specifically with this defense. Topic 64, $4.99 super chat. Dear friend of the program, what bothers me is mock drafters wanting a wide receiver before taking a quarterback. Makes no sense, Patriot fans. I think topic 64, after Jerod Mayo's comments today that we just read live on air, if everybody had a chance to redo their mock draft, Bo, in the last 12 hours, they would have Jaden Daniels going 3rd overall. Like, for the sake of accuracy, whether or not they believe Jaden Daniels should go ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., if you're putting together a mock and you just heard Jerod Mayo's comments, you're putting Jaden Daniels at 3 until we're told otherwise. I predict that we're going to see that. So pour one out for Marvin to the Patriots in mock drafts here, at least until the combine, subsequently in free agency. Because if you're talking about the most important position, the Patriots have never won historically with high-profile wide receivers. Certainly while Jerod Mayo was there. Julian Edelman, undrafted quarterback, right? Tight ends, and Gronk was a 2nd rounder. Randy Moss, the year they acquired him, they lost in the Super Bowl. But it's been a quarterback and a defensive franchise, and I think it's going to remain that way.
Yeah, and it just benefits the Arizona Cardinals and how they should approach this offseason, being kind of gifted the player the caliber of Marvin Harrison Jr. And we broke down like he's just a slightly better than this really like just rock solid class, especially at the top when you've got Rome and Malik Neighbors who's nipping on his heels as far as some of these top wide receiver draft prospects go. We're going to get into your mock drafts. We got some great ones from people that sent them to us on Twitter, social media. We'll hit those. And of course, we'll talk about, we got Suns heating up. How about that game last night? Fourth quarter, roaring back. You could have gotten in the door probably for a pretty decent price. Game time, get you in there right at the last second. They got the last second purchases that are last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Download the Game Time app today. Save yourself some money. Actually, immediately $20 with your first purchase. You get it off by using the promo code PHNX. Got some upcoming games, concerts that you want to go to. Download Game Time today. It's the perfect thing. You want to maybe go to a show on Valentine's Day. Download the Game Time app. You can wait it out, sweat it out, but don't sweat too hard because Game Time is going to get you in the door for that lowest price, guaranteed. Create that account, redeem code PHNX, get that $20 off with the Game Time app today.
I want to tell you guys about my friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, not only the official credit union of the Venerable household, but how about the Arizona Cardinals? The Desert Financial Visa debit card is such a talking point. Guess what else is a talking point? A credit union that's quick, fast, and efficient at getting you your money on time. They have a ton of locations here in the East Valley, and they can hook you up. Checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit card, investment options, and more. I had the same credit union for a long time, wasn't getting much out of it. I moved to the desert, and I got hooked up with Desert Financial Credit Union. I am never going anywhere else. Fast and efficient. I signed up, got my debit card after signing up in about 10 minutes online in the mail. It came to my house. I've been rocking and rolling ever since. Desert Financial Credit Union, no ATM fees when you go to their credit union. And again, there are a ton of them throughout the valley. It's 2024. It's about being able to go and find a place that hooks you up for what you're looking for. And if you want to go and represent the Red Sea, do it with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card, because if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place than banking with our friends at Desert Financial. There's no better place than to have your mock draft debut with Johnny and Bo here on PHNX Cardinals and Bo. You started gathering all the mock drafts that were being sent to us, and I must say, they're pretty impressive.
They are. I woke up today, open up the X, the Bird, the Twitter app, whatever it may be these days, and I had about 4 to 5 mocks just sent our way. I guarantee it was probably the product of watching yesterday our Monty mock draft and people saying, I can do better than that. But more so, this Cards community is pumped about draft season for their team that they root for. They endured just wins and losses. They endured a lot of losses this season, but the results of that give you lots of high draft picks, despite what the Texans continue to do. Monty Osfort is just equipped with a ton of draft capital. You guys are creating even more so. Damon Doug, let's just start throwing them up here and start critiquing some of these, maybe even roasting them. All right, so we've got this mock draft right here. Looks like we got Marvin Harrison Jr., Keon Coleman in going first, and then the second first-round pick. This is from Dude in the Desert. He hit us up on Twitter, Johnny. Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 4th overall selection, Keon Coleman with the 27th selection. So going bold there. Wide receiver, then going corner. Kamari Lassiter from Georgia, Kalen Carson from Wake Forest. You're not going to like the ACC defender there probably. And then going guard. Doubling up at each position down the draft board here, just going through the first 3 rounds with those 6 picks. Christian Haynes, the top guard out of UConn, and then Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. What do you think on this one, Dude in the Desert's mock?
This is an acquired taste, but thankfully he is feeding the kind of guy that likes this kind of thing. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is like caviar. You either hate it or you love it. I love this. I've been telling you forever. Like if the wide receiver position presents itself where there is a stud at 27 and they have Keon Coleman as a top 20 draft pick, you need to take Keon Coleman. I love Michael Wilson. He missed time this year. I love doubling. that's an offensive draft for when the offense is prioritized in this draft in terms of blue chip talent. I have no issue with that. I know people are roasting them in the chat. I love it. You're telling me right now, if they get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Keon Coleman, people are going to be pissed off. Come on. You know who wouldn't be pissed off? One Kyler Murray. Love it. Love it.
This would be me on the sidelines at training camp, just going from Keon Coleman to Marvin Harrison Jr., making highlight play after highlight play. It'd be tough to defend. Look, that's, as far as realistic, not the most realistic mock draft. What's absolutely, like, you can roast our mock drafts. I think anybody would be willing for you to roast theirs as well.
Jesus saying, stop being nice, Johnny. You don't love it. Legitimately, have you been here when we do mocks? I am totally fine with 2 wide receivers in the first round. I have no issue with it.
Brian saying 2 wide receivers, hell no. LVL7 saying mid. Han said, I don't like one except for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Haynes late in the draft. Look, couple positions so nice. He had to draft him twice in a row. Dude in the Desert, that was our first mock. We've got 4 more to look at.
Great follow on Twitter is Dude in the Desert, too. Check him out.
What's that?
Great follow on Twitter, too.
That's right. Yeah.
Big supporter of the program.
Yep. Supporter, funny with his tweets as well. Dude in the Desert, great follow. Next one. Who do we got here? Oh, our guy, Mike. Wheeling and dealing here. So let's stay with me here.
Okay.
Cardinals trade out of 4 down to 6 with the Giants. They get the 6th overall pick. They get a second round selection. They get a 3rd round selection. And the Giants get the 4th overall pick and a 3rd round pick. The Cardinals, they moved down the draft board. I don't know who the Giants took at 4, but the Cardinals take Notre Dame tackle Joe Alt. Now you're speaking Johnny's language. Another trade. They are moving up the draft board to 12 with the Broncos. Broncos taking that 2nd first-round pick from the Cardinals down to 27, 4th round selection, 6th round selection, and a round 2, I think, the next season. Didn't get a very good PFF draft trade grade on that, a D. But the Cardinals take edge out of Alabama, Dallas Turner. Then in the 2nd round, at the top of that, they take Keon Coleman. You guys love Keon Coleman. And then they're making a deal with the Dolphins, getting the 2nd round pick. Mike continuing to just work the phones here, working with the Dolphins. They take Tavondre Sweat. They got Jonathan Brooks, the running back, who's coming off a knee injury. Would be a luxury pick there in the 3rd round. Jalen McMillan had a touchdown in the national championship game, was the 2nd option there for Washington. And then the top guard off the board from UConn with the last 3rd round selection, Christian Haynes. Johnny, what do you think about Mike's mock draft?
The only thing I don't like is I don't like giving up a future 2nd into next year. I like everything else. I like the value on day 3. I like the 2 first rounders. I'm a Joe Alt stan. I think he's fantastic. Dallas Turner right now really is the kind of proclaimed top edge rusher, and he looked good against Michigan. Keon Coleman, again at 35, great value. And I love Sweat and Brooks, and McMillan and Haynes are staples in our mock draft. So no issue with it outside of trading a future 2. If that had said 3rd rounder or something like that, I'd be much more comfortable with it. I don't think I like Dallas Turner enough to trade a 2nd round pick for it. If that was a Dunzy at 6, and then you're coming up for like Joe Alt or Alu Fashanu, then let's throw a parade. You get a top tackle, get a top wide receiver. I don't love this defensive class in the top 12.
Yeah, this was almost like a Stefan SNL has everything draft, right? You're sitting there and you're looking at it, and it's got trades, right? You got trades, you're building the trenches as well.
Do the voice if you're bringing up
I haven't heard it in a long time. I don't even know how I would impersonate it. And then you get Keon Coleman and you get Jonathan Brooks. It's fun. You build the trenches. It's a trenches draft with some fun sprinkled in. All right, Damon Doug, let's see another mock. This is from who's this from? Our guy Benjamin Sonelmack. All right, more wheeling and dealing, and another trade partner is the New York Giants at the top of the draft. Trade down from 4 to 6, get a 2nd round pick this draft and a 3rd round pick. You trade down to 6. He's not an alt stand like Johnny. He likes Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, more of a pass protecting tackle instead of a run bulldozer like alt. 6th overall, Byron Murphy, the 2nd, the defensive lineman from Texas, with the 1st 2nd round selection, 35th overall. Then getting some more beef from Michigan, Chris Jenkins, our guy, at 47th overall. Isaac out of Penn State. You got 2 players from Penn State who is pretty mid this year as far as the college football ranks go. And then you got Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, with your first of 3 third-round selections, 6'3" wide receiver out of USC. Then the 6'7" wide receiver, former ASU Sun Devil Johnny Wilson, who finished up at Florida State. And then our guy, GM Saul Bookman guy, out of Kansas State, Cooper Beebe, just a mauler of a guard at 90th overall. But, hey, Johnny, check this one out. The trade at the bottom of here, traded the 27th overall pick, probably to take a franchise tag Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got to factor that into this mock draft.
Oh, I seen it. This as much as I stand this wide receiver class and Rice and Wilson.
You're wearing out stand. You got to find a different word, man.
I like this receiver class a lot. How about that? This is an A draft. This is a draft that is going to translate in December and January. You get unequivocally 4 ass kickers on the defensive line in Isaac Jenkins, Murphy, and Josh Allen. You get a franchise left tackle, and then you get some flyers. You got 2 flyers at wide receiver. If one of them pans out, great. I would hate not to take advantage of the trio of Marvin, Adunzi, and Neighbors. But if you take a tackle, you're going to have to be comfortable with that. So that's an A draft. That's a meat and potato draft.
I don't even know if I'd be able to look at Monty Ossenfort after this. Like, I would have such a crush on him if he's able to pull off all this. Like what he does to the front 7, the beef up front, the pass rusher with Josh Allen that you're wheeling and dealing some draft picks for, and then you're locking him in long term. Plus, you get the offensive line, like you said, Fashanu and then Beebe on the left side. What you could potentially already have on the right side with Will Hernandez and Paris Johnson Jr. I mean, that's tough to beat. So
I think but you say that, I think that's a realistic draft too. Like if Marvin's gone and they trade down and somebody comes up for Jaden Daniels and you're getting extra picks, of course that's a realistic draft. If they love Alu Fashanu and then subsequently they want a star pass rusher and then the board falls that way, you could definitely pull that off. That's real. As great as that is, that's realistic.
All right. What else do you think is realistic? Star Wars?
Okay, Dick. I don't know why you take a hard right turn there. I don't think it's fictional science fiction. It's science fiction.
Damon, let's hit our next mock draft. We got 2 more here. You guys,
I'm doing this one. That was rude. I'm doing this one.
Okay.
Who's this from?
This is from our guy Lucas.
Lucas already starting strong because we got Marvin Harrison Jr. at pick number 4. Mims out of Georgia. I have seen quintessential top 20. Now, PFF's got him at 23. That's tremendous value. You've got a tackle that's starting on a couple national championship teams for Georgia. I don't know if he could play left tackle immediately. I think in this scenario, you're moving Paris Johnson Jr. over to left tackle, and Mims would start at right tackle. Quinyon Mitchell, again, saw him today, top 20. He's at a quick riser out of Toledo, long, athletic. Tavondre Sweat at pick 66. Again, fan base. We saw Texas's D-line. We like what we saw. And then a couple PHNX Cardinal cuties, Jeremiah Trotter at 71 and Blake Corum at 90. This is also an A. This is an A for a couple different reasons. Number one, the value is there for me. Unequivocally, the top 4 players, that's a tremendous value. You're checking boxes of need. You're not forcing the issue. And again, you're getting the best player at the draft at number 4. This is very meat and potatoes. You're not having to move around. You just let the draft come to you. This is an A draft.
I like it. It's the stick and pick draft, right? You're not wheeling and dealing. And then Quinyon Mitchell, somebody Brad Spielberger said last week, you're going to know his name. If you don't know it yet, after this pre-draft process is over, you're going to know who Mitchell is. He's going to be a fast riser. All right. One more of the mock drafts. And guys, hit us up on social media at PHNX_Cardinals, at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brack, and you'll get in here. Let's see. Who's this last one? Is this Leroy? All right, look at this. We saved the longest for last. Johnny, you can finish it up.
Joel at 6 after trading back with the Giants, and you get their second. So I already like that a lot. So you're getting a top 40 pick, assuming Marvin isn't there, from going to 4 to 6. That's great value. And then you take Joe Alt. We've gushed enough over Alt, but then how about this? You're flipping 27 and 35 for Rome Odunze. That's a winner.
Atlanta's not making that deal. Atlanta's not making that deal.
We got the GM Saul Bookman chiming in there.
Yeah,
Alt and Odunze,
Damon making a great point. Pro Football Focus giving the Cardinals a C- for that deal, that highway
trade?
robbery.
You think that was a forced trade?
I have no idea.
I think Monty pulled a gun on whoever's the Atlanta GM.
Said, I've got some of your family members hostage. You're going to push this through.
Listen,
Terry Fontenot.
If this that could be a Belichick move. Belichick could be like, you know what? I just want more picks. Alt and a Dunzy without a future one involved is an A. Obviously, we've gushed over Jenkins and Sweat. Jackson Powers Johnson's fantastic. The only problem is I think Yelda Frohold's going to be the center of this team for the next 2 to 3 years. So if that's the case, is he playing guard? Trey Benson, a lot of people think he's the best running back in the draft. I'm not there yet, but that's great value at pick 90. Then we got a couple fourth-round flyers, a couple national championship cornerbacks, Muhammad and Mike Sanristil. Fine value there. Again, winners from winning programs. So, again, this draft, it's all about what's going down in the top 10. If you could pull that off, I would say kudos to you. A Dunzy and Alt would be – it's what we were supposed to have. That would be like remedying this entire situation with the Houston pick because that was supposed to be the reality.
Yeah. It's not happening. 6 picks, though, from a 4th-round selection out of the Big Ten, Sanistrillo, who also had a pick in the national championship game. I love it, man. Keep sending them all draft season long. We'll compile them, obviously, before the big draft party as well. We'll do some more roasts, but a solid start to our mock draft season. It was good on the heels of our shipbox performance yesterday. We're in our Monty bald caps. We didn't encapsulate our guy Monty Ossenfort as well as I think we could have. But
what was your complaint, real quick, about yesterday's mock? The first one we did wasn't sexy enough for you.
We went like tackle.
We made
the
like
4 mocks of all those mocks was the first mock draft with Harrison and Keon Coleman. That was the sexiest mock of all those mocks. It was. You talk about just like throwing the ball around, scoring points. Topic 64. I love 2 wide receivers only because of Michael Wilson's injury history. Absolutely. $4.99 super chat. We need the extra receiver because Hollywood is probably gone. You don't have to convince me. Topic 64. If there's a draft to do it, you do it in this draft. But I think the receivers are going to be gone by like 15, 20.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Andy Isabella and Hakeem Butler, and the guys that are going to be out of the organization in 3 seasons. And Hakeem Butler's situation, it was not even his 2nd season. And Keyshawn Johnson was probably the best receiver out of that draft where they took.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. I do want to talk about GoPHNX.com. Big announcement. Tomorrow's show, the after party, the Q&A is in the PHNX Cardinals Diehard member Discord. A live hangout with myself, Brack, Damon Dog, open Q&A. It's a continuation of the show. You have to be a diehard to be able to participate. If you're asking what's a diehard, well, first of all, you sign up right now, one-time fee for the entire year, a free hat and or t-shirt right when you sign up. So it almost pays for itself. Plus you get unlimited access to everything at GoPHNX.com. The many workings of our talented colleagues like Gerald Bourget, Jesse Friedman, Craig Morgan. Ever heard of them? Check them out. GoPHNX.com. Plus, you get 20% off all future events. The merchandise locker off the hook, free shipping. The value is there, and we're putting a sweetener. After party show Q&A tomorrow in the Discord, but you have to be a diehard. And if you need to ask some of our fellow diehards what it's like, we are reaching a milestone. We are so proud of this diehard community. Join us. There has never been a better time to join. Become a diehard today. Yeah, you could be a huge milestone for us over at PHNX. That'd be something to celebrate. But Monty Ossenfort, 1 year on the job today. We're going to break down the good and the bad from the first year under Ossenfort. Ossenfort tomorrow. That's going to be part of it. That'll be during the live show, and then we'll get into some other things, brass tacks in the Discord, some fun stuff. But yeah, Michael saying starts with the free agent period. We went into a couple good free agents today. If you're just joining us, check back on that. Like this video. And then, of course, subscribe to PHNX Sports. Follow us. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, leave a rating, leave a review. For reward-winning producer Damon Dog, Johnny Venerable, I'm Bo Brock. Thanks for watching PHNX Cardinals. We'll talk to you on Thursday.
We all silly like the mayor.